Now at 9, fire destroys a Joplin apartment building. Plus,
fears are growing that the Federal Reserve's latest efforts to fight soaring inflation could trigger a recession. I'm Mallory Rivera in Washington with more on the Fed's moves coming up.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Thank you for joining us tonight. I'm Jordan Albee. A Southeast Kansas woman is charged with forgery and theft from the law firm in which she worked. Alexis Metcalf is charged with 2 counts of theft of services and 16 counts of forgery dealing with checks. Authorities say the thefts allegedly came from Mason and Clark Law Office in Fort Scott, Kansas, and amounted to more than $25,000. The dates of those alleged thefts range from 2017 through 2021. The Joplin Fire Marshal is investigating the cause of this fire that swept through an apartment building today. The fire was reported at 1221 East 9th Street just after 5:30 this morning. Everyone inside thankfully managed to escape safely. Firefighters were on the scene for several hours. The fire was fanned by high winds, officials say, with gusts up to 30 miles an hour. Well, a mental health crisis can happen to anyone at any time. For many veterans, though, it's common to isolate themselves and battle with thoughts by themselves without seeking help. KOAM's Yana Hatala explains.
America's veterans are committing suicides daily.
At least 17 a day, which is too many, and it could be as high as 44 a day committing suicide.
It can be challenging for veterans to reach out for help for mental issues.
I'll speak for myself. A lot of veterans, we won't step out for assistance because, it's kind of been ingrained in us through the training that it's considered, like a weakness.
The Missouri Veterans Commission, along with other organizations, launched You Are Worth the Battle campaign. They provide resources, training opportunities, and practical steps to take before, during, and after suicidal crisis.
We as a society need to overcome that stigma and do what's right for those that are suffering. Do what's right for those military veterans who have sacrificed for our country.
Veteran Coke says it is important to talk to veterans as they are ordinary people with extraordinary experiences. However, sometimes it takes another veteran for one to talk about the mental battles.
There's a camaraderie per se. We can relate to a lot of the same things, a lot of the same experiences.
Compass Guest in Joplin helps veterans to have positive transition experience.
Flew combat missions in Iraq and Afghanistan. I know exactly what it's like to fear for your life. And I know I'm never going to have that kind of intense feeling again, but I thoroughly enjoy serving in a role where I can help others kind of figure out what is it that they need.
Reporting in Joplin, Yana Haudala, KOAM News.
The new National Suicide Prevention Lifeline is a 3-digit dialing code, by the way, 988. The Neosho Area Habitat for Humanity partnered with the National Ready Mixed Concrete Association's Build with Strength Coalition to construct 2 unique homes. KOAM's Sagoon Babdali has more about what makes them different.
The Neosho Area Habitat for Humanity and the National Ready Mixed Concrete Association teamed up to build 2 affordable homes in Neosho. The projects represent the first Neosho Habitat homes to use insulated concrete forms.
These are styrofoam and plastic forms that go up much like Lego blocks. They're hollow. Once the walls of the home are built, then concrete is poured inside those homes to make a very strong, a very energy efficient home.
Coalition member Greg Lewis says these homes will reduce energy costs for the residents.
It's typically better than 50% reduction in energy costs to heat and cool one of these ICF and concrete homes.
As you can see right behind me, there's a lot of construction and volunteers here. Officials tell me that most of the volunteers here are from high school and Crowder College, who are using and seizing this opportunity to get real-world experience and also some school credit.
We as the ICF manufacturers have also come into this organization through the partnership with our association, the ICFMA, and so we are donating our time and effort to help get these projects accomplished.
There's been a lot of them. They've been absolutely invaluable. So they are, they're volunteers, but they are also getting school credit for this as well.
Jamie Speck is a single mother and an elementary school teacher moving into one of these homes. She says she is very grateful.
It's amazing. We're so excited, and it's been a process, and usually like these really exciting things don't happen all the time, and it's thrilling.
In Neosho, Shagumamdele, KOAM News.
Habitat for Humanity has built 18 affordable homes in Neosho specifically. McDonald County High School is going to be opening its new Little Theater to the public tomorrow. The new Little Theater is going to pay homage to local actor Dobbs Greer. Greer was born in McDonald County and raised in Anderson, Missouri. He was a mainstay in Hollywood as a character actor from the 1950s through the 2000s. In celebration of the actor, every Friday they will perform a variety of shows called DG Fridays.
We will have an impersonator be Dobbs Greer. He will host the evening each night. And then we will have it'll be a variety show where we'll have many different things. So they will do scenes, they will do poems, they will do songs, they will do one acts.
First show is going to be tomorrow at 6 p.m. with its theme, It's a Small World. Tickets for dinner and a show are $12. Tickets for just the show are $5. Shockwaves still reverberating after the Federal Reserve's interest rate hike yesterday. It's fifth since March. Fox News correspondent Madeline Rivera reports from Washington on how economists and lawmakers are reacting to the Fed's efforts to avoid a recession.
Stocks fell once again Thursday as central banks throughout the world from Norway to South Africa raised to raise interest rates. The flurry of global activity comes a day after the Federal Reserve's latest aggressive rate hike, with Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell not backing down from his bluntest economic message yet.
A soft landing would be very challenging.
The Fed projects the U.S. economy will barely expand this year at a 0.2% pace. Estimates were marked down to 1.2% in 2023 and 1.7% in 2024. Still, Powell insists slow growth is the price to pay.
Higher interest rates, slower growth, and a softening labor market are all painful for the public that we serve. But they're not as painful as failing to restore price stability.
Unemployment could also tick up 4.4% by the end of next year, up from the current rate of 3.7%. Senator Elizabeth Warren, one of Powell's biggest critics, says that's a loss of about 1 million jobs.
My concern here is that the Fed just has one tool in its toolbox, and it's the interest rate tool.
JP Morgan CEO Jamie Dimon is warning of another danger.
Stagflation is the most damaging to every part of society, every industry, all income levels, and therefore I think it's important to get our hands around inflation as quickly as possible.
And the recession fears could get worse. The Fed expects hiking rates as high as 4.6% before ending the fight against soaring inflation. In Washington, Madeline Rivera, Fox News.
KOAM News at 9, give or take, on Fox 14, takes this time now to honor another four-state hero. Elmer Lawless served in the U.S. Air Force from 1942 to 45. Native of Lamar, Missouri, Lawless was stationed in Italy. We are proud to thank and salute Staff Sergeant Elmer Lawless. He's tonight's four-state hero. Doug Kenny's next with a complete look at the forecast. A bit later, the Pittsburgh State Gorillas aiming to keep the run game going with this weekend against Emporia State. Going to hear from the team in sports.
Well, of course, it was a huge switch for us today. We had record highs yesterday. Today, we couldn't get out of the 60s during the afternoon hours. A lot of clouds still going on out there right now. It's chilly. Nice shot, Indigo Sky Casino and Resort, of course, in Seneca, Missouri, but chilly across the region. In fact, check this out. This is over the past 36 hours. We hit 99 yesterday. Look at this. Fell back. Here came the front. We dropped into the 50s and been hanging into lower 60s since that point in time, which is kind of crazy. 60 in Nevada, 61 Neosho, 63 in Veneta. Chanute is sitting at about 64 degrees. We can go to 7th. And Rangeline currently checking in at 60. East, northeasterly winds are light. Humidity is kind of high. As the winds die down a little bit tonight, we may get a little bit of patchy fog out there, so watch out for that. Still a lot of clouds with this storm system. Eventually, we'll break out and see partly cloudy skies later on tonight. Not much on the radar, just a couple little sprinkles up towards Stockton. That is just about it. I really think most of us are going to be dry tonight. We do have rain from Kansas City all the way back into central Missouri and then out across western parts of Kansas. This batch is going to head to the north of us, so mainly Topeka, Lawrence, Kansas City, and just kind of clip the area by the time we head into the morning hours for us tomorrow. So let's go ahead, break this down. Let's go through the next 24 hours. Here's 6:30 in the morning. We're in the 50s. Few showers, far northern counties. Let's go through the morning hours. You can see the rain kind of clips our northern counties. Yates Center, Iola, Fort Scott, Nevada, you guys may get a few random showers. Everybody else is going to be dry. We'll be into the 70s by the noon hour, and then we'll heat up mid, some areas upper 80s, especially once you get into our southern counties. Overall, nice day, but it is definitely going to be warmer than what we saw today. Tomorrow night, we get some clouds in here, slight shot for a random shower late tomorrow night into Saturday morning, and then Saturday afternoon heats up. We go into the 90s. I think most of us kind of 94-ish, 95 degrees by the time we head into Saturday afternoon. All right, so here's your day planner. 59 to start, 75 by noon, 85 by 5 p.m., high temp of 87 during the afternoon hours. Of course, we got Friday night football, high school football. We are going to have some clouds out there, so we're going to call it cloud interference, but at kickoff, about 82 degrees, and then by the fourth quarter, we're going to dip back to about 74 degrees, but overall, high school football weather looks pretty good. 87 tomorrow, 95 Saturday. We cool back down to 84 on Sunday, and then next week looks pretty good. Not much rain in the forecast. Highs mainly into the 80s, overnight lows into the 50s. Jordan?
All right, Doug, thanks so much as always. Coming up, trying to recover with limited resources.
The Caribbean is struggling with recovery as Hurricane Fiona continues its strength, heading north up into the Atlantic. I'm Robert Ray with the details coming right up from Bermuda.
Recovery efforts underway right now to help Puerto Rico as it struggles to recover from Hurricane Fiona. This coming as the storm continues to threaten even more communities. Fox weather correspondent Robert Ray has more from Bermuda.
Bermuda braces for impact as Hurricane Fiona churns its way across the Atlantic. The storm is expected to bring high surf, storm surges, and heavy rainfall as it passes through the area early Friday. Forecasters say damage will be minimal when compared with the Caribbean, where nearly a dozen people were killed due to the storm. In Puerto Rico, more than 500,000 people still do not have running water, and thousands of others are without power. The island was already struggling to recover from previous storms. Now Fiona has made that worse, with local officials saying flooding and landslides have cut off major roadways, making it difficult to assess damage. It's also left people stranded with no way to get basic supplies.
We thought we had a bad experience with Maria, but this was definitively worse.
A disaster declaration from President Biden has cleared the way for FEMA to send aid and hundreds of additional personnel to help on the ground.
This week, we're surging federal resources to Puerto Rico, and we'll do everything we can to meet the urgent needs you have.
The Department of Health and Human Services says it will also send teams. Throughout the U.S., dozens of volunteers and nonprofits are rallying together to collect medical supplies and essentials.
Really wound care, first aid supplies, and personal hygiene supplies, and we're also collecting those now.
After passing near Bermuda, Hurricane Fiona is expected to move north near eastern Canada. In Bermuda, Robert Ray, Fox Weather.
All right, still ahead, head out to the country for a look at how things could be with time.
It's the farm of the future. I'm Anita Vogel with a look at the high-tech farm using recycled resources and no pesticides to produce sustainable, low-cost food. That's coming up.
The Senate has ratified an international agreement that compels the U.S. and other nations to limit the use of hydrofluorocarbons, a major force behind global warming. The powerful greenhouse gases are frequently used in refrigeration and also air conditioners. So-called Kigali Amendment to the 1987 Montreal Protocol on Ozone Pollution requires participating nations to phase down production and use of hydrofluorocarbons by as 85% as much over the next 14 years. Federal Trade Commission says Amazon founder Jeff Bezos and CEO Andy Jassy must testify in its investigation of the company. The FTC is investigating whether the company misled people into subscribing to Amazon Prime and other services. The decision comes after earlier Amazon claims that FTC staff are harassing the two men and imposing undue burdens on them. The company had filed a petition to the agency's topmost officials asking them to intervene, but it failed. It is being dubbed the farm of the future. Fox News correspondent Anita Vogel has an exciting look at the sustainable efforts to use less land, water, energy, while also using state-of-the-art technology to grow crops at low costs. New efforts are helping farmers grow enough food in the face of ongoing climate change.
Ongoing climate change resulting in warmer seasons and prolonged drought continues impacting the world and its farmers. The crisis has some ingenious minds in Egypt using the latest technology to create the farm of the future. A farm not only resistant to climate change, but one that could also help the planet, instead of straining already scarce resources. Farmers say it starts with using alternative soil.
We use a product called cocoa peat, which is grinded coconut pith, to grow our crops in an environment free from disease, rot, bacteria, or any other harmful elements from the soil.
Seedlings planted in the cocoa peat then grow inside bags made from recycled bottles. You also won't find any pesticides being used here. Recycled water also flows to the plants when they need it, preventing precious water and land from being wasted and contaminated. The farm also has facilities where crops grow vertically in water with help from some special lights.
It is very environmentally friendly. It consumes around 20 liters of water weekly, and it is operated by solar panels installed on top of the container.
With all these sustainable techniques, one might think these vegetables sell for high prices, but farm owners say the technology helps them grow 10 to 15 times more crops using a small amount of land and workers, helping to keep costs low. Anita Vogel, Fox News.
Next, you can score some free pizza for a year because of where you live. Tombstone is giving people all over the country a chance to win free pizza. To win, you must live on an Elm Street. Now, do some checking. There are Elm Streets in both Joplin, I believe. Definitely we know there's an Elm Street in Pittsburgh, thanks to my producer Peyton, who let me know about that. Now, people interested have from October 3rd through October 31st to apply. One lucky winner is going to receive free Tombstone pizza for a whole year. The reference, of course, to this comes from the movie franchise A Nightmare on Elm Street. Philly Eagles taking home a prize that they may not want. The football team has scored number one as having the priciest beer in the NFL, and it's pretty pricey here. Cost of a 16-ounce beer at Lincoln Financial Field, okay, 16 ounces, an eye-watering $14.67, more than $5 than the league average. This is according to an analysis by sports site bookies.com. Now, Rams and Chargers fans aren't spending that much less, shelling out $13.75 for a cup of suds at their stadiums. Las Vegas Raiders charging $12 a beer to their fans. It's expensive. You know, tickets themselves are expensive too. All right, 30 more minutes, news, weather, and sports coming away. Protesters in Montgomery County, Kansas gathered to raise awareness of the dangers of fentanyl. Plus, a local business shows its appreciation for our truck drivers. Protesters gathered today outside the Montgomery County, Kansas courthouse to spread awareness about the dangers of fentanyl. They say their goal is to seek justice for loved ones they lost and harsher punishments for anyone who's caught with the drug. U.S. Senator Roger Marshall of Kansas is pushing for federal legislation called the Cooper-Davis Act. It's named after a Johnson County teenager who lost his life to a fentanyl overdose. It would require social media companies to report all illicit drug activity occurring on their platform to law enforcement.
I just want justice. I want awareness, awareness, awareness. People need to know it could be your kid. What if it was your kid? You would fight for that.
According to the CDC, there were a little more than 90,000 fentanyl overdose deaths in 2020. Ozark Center in Joplin hosts monthly events focusing on mental health and substance issues during their Innovate Solutions campaign. This month's event focused on sharing stories of recovery, giving people a space to voice their experiences about their ongoing journey to recovery. It reminds people why the path to recovery is so important.
I'd just like to let folks know that there's hope and there's help out there, and there's a lot of people probably watching this evening that think that they're all alone, but that's just not the case. There are hundreds of people that are ready to help, and we're here, and so we hope that you reach out.
Next month's event is going to be focused on living with autism. Letting your kid go out the world can be sort of an analogy, right? Letting a butterfly out of its cage. Today, kids in Anderson Middle School did just that. One of the science classes watched caterpillars grow into butterflies, then release them into the wild today. Now, not only is this a good science class experiment, but it could also shape a kid's future.
Whenever we find eggs in our garden, because those eggs actually are very, very, I would say they mean a lot to us.
The butterflies students watched were monarch butterflies in particular, just in case if you're curious right there. The Neosho Arts Council's Big Spring Gallery is hosting work from a native son. It's the 27th year of the annual Thomas Hart Benton Art Competition and Exhibition. Officials say it's a chance for aspiring artists to show off their skills in a competition setting.
Well, we really appreciate that we have people from all over. We even had the competition when it was virtual, which wasn't as much fun. But we did get people from even farther away because they didn't have to come. But yeah, we really appreciate it.
The exhibit is going to be open through October at the Neosho Area Chamber of Commerce. Joplin 44 Petro is showing its appreciation for truckers today with a Truckers Jamboree. The Jamboree lasted 10 hours, featured a variety of things to do, ranging from a cookout, live music, some good chances to talk to each other, right? Also a petting zoo.
For people that's like, again, getting in the trucking industry, that wants to get into the truck, if you're going to go into it full with your whole heart, and you can be successful in trucking.
Truck drivers will certainly deserve our appreciation too, right? Jamboree, by the way, was free of charge to attend. Car rental company Hertz planning to buy up to 175 electric vehicles from General Motors over the next 5 years. The agreement follows earlier announcements. It would buy 100,000 electric cars from Tesla and another 65,000 from Polestar. Hertz plans to buy vehicles from all 4 of GM's North American passenger vehicle brands, which are Chevrolet, Buick, GMC, and Cadillac. They'll also include a variety of vehicle types and classes. Most of the models, though, are not yet in production. An appeals court siding with the Department of Justice in its investigation of classified documents taken from Mar-a-Lago. The move impacts the recently appointed special master. Former President Trump is sounding off on the ordeal, and it's not the only legal challenge he's facing. Fox News correspondent David Spunch reporting now from the Justice Department.
Former President Donald Trump is dealing with a new legal setback. An appeals court ruled in favor of the Justice Department. The ruling will allow prosecutors to regain access to the highly sensitive documents taken from Mar-a-Lago last month.
The 11th Circuit basically said, look, we're not that impressed with the former president's argument that he declassified these records.
The ruling also impacts the power of the special master. Judge Raymond Dearie will no longer have access to those roughly 100 classified documents. He is, however, tasked with reviewing the materials taken by the FBI that may be covered by claims of attorney-client privilege or even executive privilege. The former president has long argued he declassified the documents he took with him to Florida after leaving the White House early last year.
I don't think this is prosecutable. Under the Presidential Records Act, there's no retribution or prosecution. You're supposed to negotiate.
Trump is also facing a civil lawsuit in New York. Attorney General Letitia James accuses Trump and the Trump Organization of inflating assets for years in order to get better financial treatment from banks. She's seeking $250 million in restitution. Some legal experts are skeptical of the lawsuit.
The thing that you expect to find in a massive fraud case is an array of victims. And one thing I think that is startling about this is that there's no victim identified.
James also sent a referral to federal prosecutors and the IRS. At the Department of Justice, David Spunt, Fox News.
A bit later, identity enforcement.
Are you the real you? A new app from a famous actor can help you prove it and protect your identity. I'm Eben Brown in Miami. I'll have that story straight ahead.
Well, of course, it was a huge switch for us today. We had record highs yesterday. Today, we couldn't get out of the 60s during the afternoon hours. A lot of clouds still going on out there right now. It's chilly. Nice shot, Indigo Sky Casino and Resort, of course, in Seneca, Missouri, but chilly across the region. In fact, check this out. This is over the past 36 hours. We hit 99 yesterday. Look at this. Fell back. Here came the front. We dropped into the 50s and been hanging into lower 60s since that point in time, which is kind of crazy. 60 in Nevada, 61 Neosho, 63 in Veneta. Chanute is sitting at about 64 degrees. We can go to 7th. And Rangeline currently checking in at 60. East, northeasterly winds are light. Humidity is kind of high. As the winds die down a little bit tonight, we may get a little bit of patchy fog out there, so watch out for that. Still a lot of clouds with this storm system. Eventually, we'll break out and see partly cloudy skies later on tonight. Not much on the radar, just a couple little sprinkles up towards Stockton. That is just about it. I really think most of us are going to be dry tonight. We do have rain from Kansas City all the way back into central Missouri and then out across western parts of Kansas. This batch is going to head to the north of us, so mainly Topeka, Lawrence, Kansas City, and just kind of clip the area by the time we head into the morning hours for us tomorrow. So let's go ahead, break this down. Let's go through the next 24 hours. Here's 6:30 in the morning. We're in the 50s. Few showers, far northern counties. Let's go through the morning hours. You can see the rain kind of clips our northern counties. Yates Center, Iola, Fort Scott, Nevada, you guys may get a few random showers. Everybody else is going to be dry. We'll be into the 70s by the noon hour, and then we'll heat up mid, some areas upper 80s, especially once you get into our southern counties. Overall, nice day, but it is definitely going to be warmer than what we saw today. Tomorrow night, we get some clouds in here, slight shot for a random shower late tomorrow night into Saturday morning, and then Saturday afternoon heats up. We go into the 90s. I think most of us kind of 94-ish, 95 degrees by the time we head into Saturday afternoon. All right, so here's your day planner. 59 to start, 75 by noon, 85 by 5 p.m., high temp of 87 during the afternoon hours. Of course, we got Friday night football, high school football. We are going to have some clouds out there, so we're going to call it cloud interference, but at kickoff, about 82 degrees, and then by the fourth quarter, we're going to dip back to about 74 degrees, but overall, high school football weather looks pretty good. 87 tomorrow, 95 Saturday. We cool back down to 84 on Sunday, and then next week looks pretty good. Not much rain in the forecast. Highs mainly into the 80s, overnight lows into the 50s. Jordan?
Doug, thanks so much again. Police officers in at least one department in Arizona using new sensory tools to help them deal with crisis calls. Fox's Irene Snyder explains.
People were calling in saying there was a young man that looked disoriented and in trouble.
Officer Rachel De La Torre has a son with special needs. So when she responded to this crisis call for a man with special needs, she knew just what to do.
That he was stimming, and he was, which is something that people when they're on the autism spectrum will often do when there's sensory overload to try to calm themselves just down.
So Officer De La Torre pulled out a calming strip, one of the items she uses for her son to help calm him down.
Because they're small, they have like a sandpaper texture. They're really good for people who are experiencing any kind of anxiety.
And it worked. Since then, the Queen Creek Police Department decided to equip all officers with sensory items to help in a crisis.
Really, the light bulb went off. I myself have two children that are autistic or are on the spectrum, and I have lots of different tools to help them through their day, and it didn't dawn on me that we could bring those into this environment.
That kit includes calming strips along with several textured balls. Ray Morris organized Dads for Special Kids and has a son on the spectrum. He says these sensory items are crucial.
It's very important. It's having that device, that equipment for that community, that culture. That's like if you go into a deaf community and you don't have an American Sign Language interpreter, are you going to be able to communicate with them?
And the goal for every crisis call is to connect.
Sometimes eye contact And speaking is not the best way to communicate. So finding ways to communicate to people wherever they're at.
Coming up in sports now, going to hear from the Pittsburgh State Gorillas as they aim to stay unbeaten this weekend at Emporia State. Plus, KU football announcing its first sellout in 3 years. Speaking of that, Hattie, KU, Jay Leonard has more on that after this break.
The Pittsburgh State Gorillas are still unbeaten and have moved up to number 14 in the national rankings this week. The last time out, the Gorillas beat Northeastern State 49-14 to get to 3-0 on the season. The Pitt State is back on the road this weekend, facing the Emporia State Hornets. ESU is coming off a big win over Missouri Western. They head into the weekend with a 2-1 record. Last weekend, the Gorillas got the run game going, rushing for a season-high 232 yards. Now, those big rushing numbers are exactly what the PSU offensive linemen like to see.
It makes me feel great, As an offensive lineman, I want to run the football. Pass blocking is great. And we have Chad, who's a wonderful quarterback. Have you guys seen? He's been throwing the ball around the field, but as offensive lineman, I want to run the ball. It brings a little bit more of a physical aspect to it. Pass pro ain't passive, but at the same time, you're going backward. You kind of got to be the nail in a sense. Where in a run game, you're more of the hammer.
We've had our moments where we still need to improve, but felt like we ran the football better in the last game, and we got to continue with that balance on offense to be good, and it all starts with those guys.
The Kansas Jayhawks announced today they have sold out Saturday's home game against Duke. For the Jayhawks, it's their first sellout since 2019, just their second sellout in nearly 13 years. The KU is 3-0 to start the season after going on the road, blowing out Houston last week. It's the Jayhawks' first 3-0 start since 2009. The Kansas City Chiefs hit the road this weekend facing the Indianapolis Colts. Now, the Chiefs are 2-0 to begin the season after winning their home opener last Thursday over the Chargers. On the other side, Colts are kind of off to a bit of a slow start. They tied with Houston in Week 1, got shut out by Jacksonville last week. Even with their struggles, the Chiefs know it's a good team in Indy, and they'll be ready to go, especially with it being their first home game of the season.
First of all, they got good players. They got a really good coach, and this will be their first home game. And I just think all of those things added up, we're going to get everything that they have and what I think people thought they were going to be in this particular game. I think we're going to get it all at once. I think the receivers are getting healthy. Yesterday I know there was some limited and one full. So we're anticipating everything they have as an offense. That's how we're going to go about it.
The Kansas City Royals finish up a 3-game series this afternoon with the Minnesota Twins. Now, the Royals are aiming for the sweep after taking the first 2 games of the series. After today, Kansas City has just 12 games left in the season. One on for Salvador Perez in the third. Find some grass there for the RBI single. Royals take a 1-0 lead. To the fourth, Edward Olivares goes deep to the corner. Stays fair for the solo home run. Just his 4th of the season. It's now 2-0. Same score in the 5th, more from Kansas City. This time it's Drew Waters. Going deep to right, his 2nd of the year pushes the Kansas City lead to 3-0. They also get it done in the field this afternoon in the 7th. Look at Olivares coming in and making the nice grab. Royals make it a series sweep, topping the Twins 4-1. St. Louis Cardinals, they haven't scored a run in 43 innings coming into the day. Try to get the bats going in the series finale against the Padres. The Cards broke that streak with a Lars Nootbaar homer in the 5th, plus a Brendan Donovan grand slam. St. Louis goes on to win tonight 5-4. And that's a look at sports. We're back with more news after this.
John O'Hurley is best known for playing Jay Peterman on Seinfeld and as the host of the National Dog Show. And now he's taking a big gamble, though, on a new tech solution for businesses. Fox's Evan Brown has more in this edition of our Fox on Tech series.
How many times a day are you asked to prove you are you? Logging in and authenticating yourself is now part of everyday life, whether it's to access your banking or your work email. They might text you a code or make you pick out photos.
I am not a robot. That's it. That's going to be the title of my memoirs, I think, when I finally put this all down to bed.
Actor and TV personality John O'Hurley, you remember him as Jay Peterman from Seinfeld, is now partners in a new company aiming to make authenticating easier and more secure with biometrics. It's called Q5 ID. O'Hurley says there's a real need for it.
When I saw a deep fake the other night, I immediately went to saying, well, it would be nothing for a CEO, someone to fake a CEO, come on, make some sort of statement about the financial wherewithal of the company, and the stock would tank. Well, there would be no retrieving that by saying, well, it wasn't really that person, it was a fake.
Even social media networks now ask for two forms of ID, but with bots now beating many authentication programs, Q5 ID will use your phone to scan your face or your palm, keeping the data on your device, but proving to your bank or any other company it's really you.
Because it's the last time you technically would ever need a password or a username, because you are you.
Now, better authentication might help businesses and law enforcement cut down on digital fraud, something that costs Americans tens of billions of dollars each year. In Miami, Eben Brown, Fox News.
An iconic movie returning to the big screen to celebrate a birthday. Hollywood Nation coming your way. A classic romantic drama heads back to the big screen. Pop singer opens up about her personal life. We got more news for you. Here's Fox's Ashley Dvorkin with the latest from the Hollywood Nation.
Gomez shares Pinhead scares and The Bodyguard returns in the Hollywood Nation.
You pay me to protect you.
The Bodyguard, starring late legendary singer Whitney Houston and Kevin Costner, is heading back to theaters in celebration of its 30th anniversary. The film centers on the ill-fated romance between a pop star and a former Secret Service agent who is hired to protect her. The special screenings of the 1992 classic are scheduled for November 6th and 9th. Life is full of surprises. Production has begun on season 2 of the HBO Max series Sex and the City reboot, and just like that, Sarah Jessica Parker shared the news along with a photo on Instagram.
Greater delights await.
Hulu unleashes the scares in today's first looks. The streamer released a first trailer to its remake of the 1987 horror classic Hellraiser, starring Jamie Clayton as the brand new iconic monster Pinhead. It will debut October 7th. And Selena Gomez gives a sneak peek at her upcoming documentary, My Mind and Me. The film chronicles the pop singer's mental health journey after years of fame, featuring raw footage from her personal everyday life. It premieres on Apple TV Plus November 4th. In Hollywood, Ashley Dvorkin, Fox News.
And that is our time for tonight. Thanks so much for joining us. Gonna leave tonight with video of a zebra at a Mexican zoo. Do this all again tomorrow. See you then.